How's everybody doing out there? It's me again, the Stone DM, and I am back again. A little bit of a hiatus. We're trying to start the podcast like talk session for the All Bear Crew for like maybe a weekly thing or something. So I have been not available as much for this, but also just regular stuff's going on. But we are here again with another Stone DM, and I got a lot of madness to talk about, but I don't know if this will be a very long one. But there are a lot of things that have been happening. Like I designed a dungeon because we were gonna do a one shot that we ended up not able to do, and in the dungeon, I ended up putting my own little traps and all these variables and just different trials and stuff, and I ended up running it myself when we couldn't do the one shot. I just made a couple of characters up real quick and tried to run them through the dungeon, the best I could, without utilizing my knowledge and stuff like that. Like just trying to let the characters, play it. But we ended up doing okay, but we definitely failed, and it's kind of designed to potentially take some people out, but I didn't think it was going to be maybe as hard as it is. So I still got some work on that. But then I was also thinking that, like, I don't really know how to run a dungeon. So I was thinking, because we've been doing a lot of homebrew, I was thinking maybe I need to get back to doing a module or something, because maybe that would, like, explain the process or something a little bit more. That way I have a better understanding. Because it's like, you got a hallway, right? And it's got, 10 see, this is why I'm a terrible DM. I don't have words. Words. You know what I mean? Words. So you have 4, like 10 sections to 10 little, cubes or hexes, depending on what you're playing on, right? Down the hallway. And there's a trap, on part 4. So obviously when they turn down and go into a new hallway, they're going to do a check, right? But, depending on light and stuff like that, they're not going to be able to see too far. So, like, how do you play it? But also, because you don't want them checking every cube or hex for, I'm a roll. I mean, obviously, it's a thing they could do, and like if that's the game they're playing, that's the game they're playing. But at the same time, like you don't want to get them into playing that kind of game, because then there will be no game to be played. It'll just be a guy trying to get down a hallway for fucking an hour and a half. So there's just some things like that, like some in detail things that I want to learn. But also, designing the map, I think I front-loaded a little bit, but I'm not sure if that's bad or not. So I think I'm going to leave the map mostly as is. There are some minor adjustments, but I'm going to have the team run through it on their own and see if they can, get to or pass up where my guys did. I potentially think they'll be all right. I think the dungeon is fairly beatable. It just depends on what kind of characters you choose and the things that you find and or don't find. Because there are some pretty hectic traps in there. But I think that's a lot of fun, designing a little dungeon all by myself and seeing how it's gonna work and trying to incorporate the traps and stuff like that, and trying to figure out how to work those things. I love this game. It's so much fun. And then just the idea of, you know, because I don't have a lot of things terribly thought out as far as, you know, what they're going to come across and how it's going to, you know, incorporate itself in the world. And like there was an instance where they were going through like a vortex storm, you know, with magical passing through spell. And one of the people reached their hand out, and like I gave them, you know, oh, you know, take like you know, a little d6 of damage. You know, it's like, you know, just cold damage. And then I was thinking about it later, and it's like that's not what that would be. That would be like what is that spell? Blades, circle, you know, circle blade, or you know, the dagger tornado fucking thing. But it would be, you know, shrapnel, freezing. So it would be like, you know, like 4d4 of one damage, and like, you know, 4d4 of another, or even, you know, more d4 even. Like it could be like, you know, 5, 10 d6s. Like it is the protector of an entire city that, you know, is magical. Like, so I need to think about those things a little bit harder, but, you know, and I do a lot of things on the fly, and I feel like I work best on the fly, but there's also some things that I do need to prepare a little bit better. But we we uh we get into some shit. So it's really hard. But it's also a lot of fun, you know, kind of seeing what they're going to get into and where we're going to go and how we're going to get there, you know. So like I knew that this storm thing existed. However, I had never anticipated someone would actually try and, like, you know, reach for it. So I didn't have an actual understanding myself of what that would be. So, and you know, when they did it, you know, they took their damage. They had a block hand for a while, and it created a fun scenario, you know, in the game, and that's you know, really what we're looking for. But at the same time, is like I keep telling them how dangerous this world is, and then I keep not showing like like she stuck her hand into a vortex storm and came back with just an ice covered hand, and she's resistant to cold damage, so she took no damage because she rolled a 1 on the d6. Like, and like I'm not mad that she didn't get hurt, and I'm not mad, you know. I'm just like, damn, you know, like there's more consequence than that. And like this thing, the way I described it, is more than just what that is. And while that was a great, funny scenario, and really, you know, involved itself with the group dynamic, because, you know, there is a pretty regular dynamic that the group has. At the same time, it wasn't all that it was, you know, supposed to be. I think, because, like, you know, if this is one of the greatest, you know, one of the greater defenses, probably that the world even knows of, because, like, that's pretty raw. Like a whole storm that protects you, and you're allowed to, like, you know, the elves are allowed to pass through it. Like, that's cool as shit. But at the same time, if that's what it is, it's got to be powerful. Or is it, you know, just the idea that it's powerful, and then it's actually not? But no, it really is. It's an actual defense. Like, and that's the thing too. Is like I need to make sure that I'm not, you know, pulling punches and stuff. But like talking about that all right now is kind of a weird situation, because last night we had a thing where it seems like I am, you know, upset or like not enjoying what has been happening, but it's not it comes down to, because what happened was we had a 3-party split, and the things that I have been studying and incorporating into, you know, what they might run into is all based on them, you know, being a group. Um, and when they split, it really messed my stuff up because I wasn't prepared to delve into the catalog of monsters that I'm still, you know, getting fairly used to, and figure out what I can potentially throw at them while keeping it, you know, a competitive game and not just outright killing them. Because, you know, obviously the monsters that I have, you know, locked in my brain right now, they're gonna kill a party, you know, that is not whole, like, you know, because they split 2-2-1. So like, and it was just, you know, trying to figure out how to manage that, but also like not pull the punches, and not, you know, let them get away with it, but also not completely punish them for, you know, just doing something. Because how it happened was so organic, and it was completely them enveloping their characters, and like literally that's all I could ask for, and it was so much fun to watch. But at the same time, I'm over there screaming to myself like, no. But it was fucking awesome. It really was, and I love how it worked, and what it's gonna do to the group has, you know, potential for a lot of different things. It's just, you know, like I was just caught completely off guard, and I was in a real bad state on the other side of that, you know, DM screen, I guess. I you know, use one generally, but yeah, I was I was in deep water over there. And like, and I did want to, you know, like throw the fire at them, but I also, you know, I don't want to just kill these characters off, but like sometimes, you know, that's what you wander into, that's what you wander into, and I can't really help that. And if you do a fucking giant party split like that, but like, um, one of the other problems too is I'm not being the player, I'm the DM, and it's hard for me to understand how the players are viewing the world, and the things that are happening, and while they're happening, and how they're, you know, react, like, because like I still see, you know, us as, you know, we're playing a game, and most of us enjoy a game that has some challenge, and you know, in the challenge, the victory, you know, is a little bit more easily celebrated. Um, so while I'm, you know, throwing these encounters at them, and I'm just like on my side of the table, because like D&D 5e, the players are superheroes after a certain level, and like they've even asked for a level up, and they're not like the party to do that, and it's because they know that something probably should have happened by now, and maybe like they missed it. Like they weren't like, oh, you know, like some people will say that, you know, their party is always asked, like, it's not that. They've done some big things, and they understand when I usually do the level ups, and I've been putting it off because they're so powerful right now. But at the same time, like, I need to give them, you know, better magic and stuff like that. So like I'm just trying to, like, the monsters that I had for this session, I don't know that they could have taken them as a whole group. So when they split the group and started rolling, because I do, you know, random world rolls, and I have a little table that I write out, you know, every couple sessions or whatever, and the table changes, you know, for the areas and stuff, and for their, you know, experience. So like I got this little table, and so like I had them roll, and like one of the creatures is a Remoras, and it's like a level 8, or no, it's a level 11 uh CR rating, and they're level 7, but there's 5 of them, and they've been crushing everything. So I figure, this level 11 won't be a problem. And then they split up into groups, and I'm like, well, I can't throw that at, two of them and have, like, one of them, just get eaten, and then, like, that's that. See you later. Sorry you didn't have a group here to defend you. Like, but, like, at the same time, like, I have to allow things like that to happen, but, like, I feel like and, like, one of the guys, he mentioned at the end, he was like, that I feel like a coward because I am not, having them just get eaten by this, but because, like, the way I see it is, he's right. I am mad at myself for being that coward. I did admit to that, but at the same time, it's like I was throwing tests at these guys this session, like, and they don't know, like, how I plan things and stuff like that. But, like, yeah, the monsters that I had incorporated for this one, they were going to be tests, and when they split up, I can't force them into that situation at in that low number and feel right with myself, because, like, at that point I'm just murdering their character. But again, at the same time, like, if they're gonna split the party, they're gonna come across these dangers. So that's what got us to the end part where we ended up fighting the giant hyenas, and they rolled an 8 for the number. So two of the guys, who thankfully were a paladin and a monk, because anyone other than maybe Aggie the barbarian in that situation, they definitely would have died. Those two came very close. Like, we almost lost a couple players. They're not out of the woods yet. They're at, like, 1 or 2 exhaustion each, and they still have, like, traveling to do because they're stuck and, like, coming into the swamps in the middle, in the middle of dusk. Like, sun set is happening. Like, it's about to get dangerous, like, more dangerous in the swamps. They just created carnage of these hyenas. They're almost dead. They're out of resources. Like, who knows what's gonna happen with that? And then we got the other one who I completely fucked out of a day. I told her not to worry about how her day was going, and then I ended up pushing her to the end of the day. Honestly, it was just a slip of the word, and then there was, like, this whole reaction at the table of, like, 20 minutes of laughing. So I kind of just let it stand because I was so lost and confused. I wasn't trying to correct it. I was just gonna figure it out from there. Like, so I mean, honestly, I probably owe that person a day. I really did screw them out of a lot of time. I've never had a 3-party split. It happened organically. Honestly, it really, like, it was so much fun watching. I just didn't know what to do, and that shows my inexperience. And it also shows my lack of preparation, because I need to have backups and things ready for situations like that, and I need to be more prepared because the group are really becoming their characters, and things like this are going to happen where you just get disheveled and lost, and you got to go, and people get split up, and it's going to be a thing. So I need to get a little bit more prepared and better at being ready to handle that kind of situation. I think having the ability to work on the fly and be adjustable really saved the session, because I almost gave up. Honestly, I was like, I don't know where we are. I don't know where to go, and I don't know what to do. Um, Not saying that they couldn't, you know, be doing what they were doing or be where they were. Just like I almost like needed a week. Like but we pushed through and we managed to pull it together. I came up with a different system for how their roles were going to work. And they came out, you know, as some fun encounters and some interesting scenarios. And it leaves us in a much better place going into next week. Because honestly, had I called it there and gave up, I don't know that I would have been able to work through that next week. And like, I really hope they don't get discouraged, uh, you know, by how I was maybe putting out some different energies at the end of that session, because I really did enjoy it and I really did have a lot of fun. I at that point had just swam basically out of the ocean in a rip current, and I was just like out of it. But I think it's a lot of fun where they are. I think the things that are going to come from this are going to be really interesting, and really tell some of the story pretty differently, and maybe add some uh, add some dynamic to the group that we haven't really experienced before. Um, but all in all, I think we are really telling a fantastic story. I think that was session like 34 of our homebrew, 35 if you count our one shot that actually exists in this world. Uh, and then hopefully after the next session, we're going to get like, some real whammy world changing shit. You know what I mean? Uh, I got some big ideas for what's coming up, but also, you know, what's going to happen with the undead village? You know, how is that going to work? When do they find out about it? How do they find out about it? What do they do about it? Um, there's a lot of different scenarios that are happening and taking place, and I couldn't be more excited to continue this journey. I think we could do a lot of sessions with these characters, but also I need to give them a level up. You know, it's time, so probably after the next one, I'll have to give in and let them, you know, get to level 8. And they're only at level 8, and I'm already worried about it. But I mean, potentially these guys could probably get up to like level 12 in this world. But also, like, with the world being as young as it is, and the things that have happened, uh, these guys are kind of almost the most powerful group to have ever existed in the world. So that's pretty interesting. And you know, maybe I should change it, and maybe it shouldn't be that way. But also at the same time, I think that's pretty cool. Like we're telling the history of these people right now. So we'll see what happens. We got a lot of things to go looking forward. So go over and check out the All Bear Crew over on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? Tale of the Untamed Lands. And don't forget to smile, y'all. Pass it on.